Viewers, welcome to the talk show Promising Bangladesh, sponsored by Crown Cement. Today we have a very special guest here, and we'll talk about the political party in Bangladesh, especially Zaker party in Bangladesh, and his spiritual leader, everybody knows, Hazrat Maulana Hashmatullah, Rahmatullah alayhi. And the person I'm going to talk, Dr. Saim Amir Faisal, Senior Vice Chairman of Zaker Party, and he is the grandson of Peer of Atroshi. It means Hazrat Maulana Hashmatullah Rahmatullah. How are you, Mr. Saim?
I'm very well, Dr. Sinha. Thank you so much for having me.
Basically, you are a financial economist, and you speak very well in the field of economics, I know. But today our point of discussion is something different, because you are the Senior Vice President of Zaker Party, which has been plotted by your father under the spiritual leadership of your grandfather. There are so many questions and askings in the mind of the people, especially in the foreigners. And I've been asked by many about the Zaker Party. And suit the very purposes, I will raise some very soft asking to you.
Sure. Can be hard as well, no problem.
What is Zaker Party?
So Zaker Party, the word Zaker comes from the word Zikr. Zikr is an Arabic word. It means remembrance of the divine and the divine ethics of life, the morality of life, of justice. And Zaker Party is a liberal democratic political party. This is what we truly believe. And embedded within the political party are core nationalist ideals and pacifist Islamic principles. As you understand, we believe in religious pluralism, we believe in collectivism, we believe in the principles of communal harmony, we believe in the establishment of rule of law. We truly believe that regardless of ethnicity, creed, faith, whether someone is Hindu, Buddhist, Muslim, Christian, in the eyes of the law, before the eyes of the law, everyone is equal. And that is in essence the principles of Islam. And over the past 1400 years of Islam's history, without the pacifist spiritual essence of Islam, Islam cannot corroborate to purely arithmetics. There is an entire spiritual element of Islam that in Bangladesh's 800 to 900 year history, from the tenets of Hazrat Shahjal Rahmatullah alayhi, from which we have our profound Hazrat Shahjal International Airport, down to my grandfather Hazrat Shah Sufi Maulana Muhammad Hashmatullah Naqshbandi Mujaddidi Rahmatullah alayhi. These Islamic preachers have sacrificed to bring people of all faiths, all creeds, all ethnicities together, to have religious harmony, to have national harmony, for all people of all walks of life to be in unison. And my grandfather, when he first went to the village of Atroshi in Shodorpur Upazila in Faridpur district, he preached Islam in every single household. There was no bloodshed, there was no fanaticism, there was no extremism, there was no fundamentalism. And that is the kind of Islam that we truly believe in, not the perversion of Islam that we see globally, not the extremist form of Islam or the fundamentalist form of Islam. Islam is the most tolerant religion of all. It is the most inclusive, most pacifist, most spiritually inclined version of all religions. And this, I believe, our political party, on the religious element of it, wants to establish. As you see, I am not a fundamentalist. I am not an extremist. I have friends that are Hindus. I have friends that are Buddhists. We have the greatest respect for all people of all walks of life, regardless of what ethnicity they belong to. And we even say that minorities, we don't believe in the word minority, simply because that nationality cannot be hyphenated. There is no such thing as Hindu Bengali or Muslim Bengali. It is purely Bengali. We're all Bangladeshis under one umbrella. And that is the kind of message that Zaker Party wants to establish. And at the same time, I would also like to say, since the inception of our political party, as you may very well know, our electoral symbol is the rose. red and green in alignment with the colors of our national flag, the Bangladeshi flag, and the green representing the peace and sanctity of Islam. The red meaning the sacrifice and the efforts, the blood of our martyrs, in order to build a fair, a tolerant, a divergent, an inclusive, and a vibrant Bangladesh in the future. So, in essence, this is what Bangladesh is. And in essence, this is what the kind of Bangladesh we strive to build in the next 10 to 15 years. We believe that Zaker Party is one of the parties of the future. We have the right level of nationalism, pacifist nationalism, not the Western brand of nationalism. We target the economic emancipation of all our party members. We have 2.1 million members all over Bangladesh. Our women's wing. So this is me debunking a few myths. We are very, very pro women's empowerment. This is not just with words, but in our practice as well. Zaker Party Mahila Front, which is the Zaker Party's women's wing, is one of the strongest women's organizations in Bangladesh. We have committees not only in the union level, we have committees in the nationwide ward level and the village level. So 4,554 unions, 493 sub-districts, 86,000 villages, and almost in 75% of Bangladesh's 49,500 wards. Our Zaker Party Mahila Front is one of the strongest women's organizations after the Awami League's women's wing and the BNP's women's wing. And we're here, we want to serve the country. We want to serve our people. We want to emancipate our people from the shackles of poverty, from the shackles of corruption. And we plead to the Bangladeshi people that we want to serve. We have no aspirations. There's no personal agenda here. All we ask is that we get an opportunity to simply serve our people. That's it. And this is the essence of Zaker Party. This is why my grandfather founded his political party. If you look at the history of Islamic preachers in Bangladesh, starting with in the 1300s, Hazrat Shah Jalal Rahmatullah alayhi, and then Hazrat Shah Paran Rahmatullah alayhi. And then if you look in the 1500s or the 1600s, Mujaddid al-Fisani Shaykh Ahmed Sirindi, who fought in the name of Islam against Mughal Shamrat, the Mughal Emperor Akbar, did not bow down simply to establish rule of law, simply to establish justice, simply to establish the principles of Islam that he believed in. In the more recent history, if you go to Shirazganj in Pabna, my grandfather's spiritual master or teacher, Hazrat Shah Sufi Khaja Yunus Ali Rahmatullah alayhi, they preached Islam to bring people together, not to divide people. We were not segregationists. So I understand that in the Islamic polity, it can be very, very divisive. But I plead to all people that there is no such thing as Sufi Islam or Salafi Islam. There is only one Kalamar Islam, where we bring people of all walks of life under the umbrella of the Medina Constitution, whether it's Hindus, Muslims, Christians, Jews, Sikhs, etc., etc. If they're people, they're all equal before the eyes of God. And that is something that we want to harness and what we want to preach. This is our political philosophy, this is our moral philosophy, and this is something that through our conversation here, we want to transcend to all viewers, both home and abroad, that give us a chance, see us for what we are, not from what you hear, but for what we do and what we say.
Just to be good. You are talking about the Medina Charter. And we know very well the charter was framed when the Rasul was there and we are the minority. Muslim are the minority.
Correct.
Christian
Absolutely.
and others are the majority.
Yep. Yes.
So having this in mind, Medina Charter, somebody is quoted it from time to time, but when the Quran, at the time of last, at the Hajj, we say the Bidai Hajj.
Of course.
Rasul said Islam has been given the full meaning. So after the formation, after the full message of the Quran, how to relate the Medina Sanad with this?
Well, if you look at the literal analysis of the Quran, we spend years, days analyzing Shakespeare's Hamlet or the Macbeth or Rabindranath Tagore's textbooks, many excerpts that people analyze for years and years. However, whenever it comes to the interpretation of the Quran, there cannot be one literal meaning. Without the spiritual essence of Islam, without the metaphors and the similes, without the right interpretation, there is a chance, there is always the chance that it gives birth to some form of misrepresentation, misinterpretation, and in some cases, in the name of Islamic fundamentalism, we also have seen Islamic radicalism or extremism in the name of Islam, violence in the name of Islam. And these are some of the contradictions that we have fought against since the inception of Bangladesh. Muslims have to come together. If we are to have a commonality in defending what is just, in defending what is right, it cannot be at the expense of Hindus or Buddhists. It cannot be at the expense or in the persecution of our minorities over here. This is not the way our Prophet treated the minorities 1400 years back. And we have to have the deepest respect for people of all religions, of all faiths. And that is the charter of Medina. And what the Quran said, of course, what the Quran says, how I interpret it versus how you interpret it, is going to be vastly different. How any person in any country interprets Islam, it differs from house to house, from person to person. I am open to all interpretations, but violence in the name of Islam cannot be tolerated. And we cannot harness a breeding ground for fanatical ideology. This is the age of human progress. Islam believes in fundamental progression, in economic empowerment. And there's a very famous saying by Dale Carnegie, which says that God does not judge a man till the end of his days. What gives you and I the right to judge a man before the end of his days? So we have to remember that we cannot give out certificates of heaven and hell. That is the only judgment that we have to leave for God. So whether someone is doing right or wrong, we can tell them what we feel morally or ethically or legally speaking. But the final verdict of what is just, what is right, does belong to God as well, of course.
Another asking to you, you are raising the question of fundamentalism. What does it mean?
Well, fundamentalism, in my eyes, as well as the common rhetoric of the known political world right now, is a blend of extremism and a literal interpretation or selective literal interpretation of religious texts. And this, I believe, is extremely dangerous. If you take some portions of a religious or a biblical or a Quranic text out of context and place it where you feel is more appropriate for your own liking, for your own satisfaction, for achieving your own religious agenda or your own political agenda, this does not reflect in totality the message of the Bible. It does not reflect in totality the message of the Torah. It does not, in essence, relay the message of the Quran. If you look at what is happening in Palestine right now, in the name of the holy state of Israel, quote unquote, the barbarity in the name of Judaism, this is not what Judaism preaches. Love mercy now, do justly now. You are not obligated to complete the work, but neither are you free to abandon it. This is from the Torah.
Thank you very much. I will come to you again. Viewers, we are going for a short break and come to you again. Please keep watching. We are back to the talk show Promising Bangladesh, sponsored by Crown Cement. And we are having talks with Dr. Saim Amir Faisal, Senior Vice Chairman of Zaker Party. And he is a very vocal person, at the same time, indeed, a knowledgeable person indeed. And we are talking to him on many things about Zaker Party and different issues prevailing at this very moment in Islam. Dr. Saim, we are very much tired of listening to fundamentalism, Western concept. But from the point of view of Islam, what is fundamentalism?
Look, fundamentalism in any form, if taken out of context, if we are truly capable of understanding what the holy texts have said, whether it's the Bible or the Torah or the Quran, but in the name of establishment of a holy state in Israel, the persecution of Palestinians, this is not what Judaism has preached. So fundamentalism in any form, taken to the extremes, can resort to extreme capitulation of religious text, capitulation of the spiritual essence of any religion. Whether you see it, some extremists happen in the Hindu religion as well. There are many severe examples. There are Islamic extremists that were harboring all over Bangladesh, 10, 15 years back. It's happening in Afghanistan, it's happening in the Middle East. But what is the breeding ground? And what responsibility do moderates have in curbing these extremist versions of interpreting the Quran to suit their own political agenda? And as you understand, end of the day, these interpretations are backed by a wholly political and a financial lobby. And we've seen this across the Middle East as well. If you look at AIPAC funding Israel, you could see the persecution, the plight of the persecutions of the Palestinians in the West Bank as well as Gaza. It is not a new phenomenon that happened on the 7th of October 2023. It's been happening for the past 75 years. And we cannot deny the economic backing or the political lobbies that have manifested the breeding ground, the harboring ground for such extremist acts. And this happens across all religions. It is not only confined to the religion of Islam. This happens, if you look at the Crusaders in Christian history, it is the exact same thing. There are Christian extremists as well. There are Jewish extremism as well. There is Hindu extremism as well. There is Muslim extremism as well in the name of Islam. And most recently, we've seen this in Myanmar as well. There are monks that are now acting out deeds of terrible extremism and in the name of quote-unquote religious fundamentalism. So I do feel there should be a consensus that violence or fundamentalism that can harbor or breed hate, violence, should not be tolerated in any modern civilized society. That is my personal predicament. People can agree or disagree. Again, I'm a very devout practicing Muslim. I believe in the sanctity of God. I do my prayers, I fast. I believe in the divine, but it does not give me the right to suppress or impose pressure upon a non-believer in order to convert to Islam. It does not give me the right.
Zaker Party is a political party in Bangladesh which was plotted in, I think, in 1989.
That's correct.
And before that, it was Zaker organization. I think in 1987.
Zaker Shangoton, that's right. That's correct, yes.
So, from the very birth of your party, political party, you participated in the election.
Correct, yes.
During Esha time. And from that time to these days, long time, what is your success politically?
So, as you know, there are 44 registered political parties in Bangladesh. 44. And there are many parties that have had their registration, they have come into the political fray, and they have disappeared over the past 40 years or more. We have remained. And today I can proudly say that all over Bangladesh we have 2.1 million members, registered members with NIDs, with mobile numbers. You can fact check it with our rallies that we have held over the past few years. You can do a physical head count as well to check whether the numbers that I'm proposing to be accurate are actually in effect in display or not. The fact of the matter is, out of these 44 political parties, Zaker Party today is the 5th largest political party, simply on the sheer number of the member base. You may ask a question, why are you not represented in parliament? Why don't you have a cabinet position? The 14-party alliance that are aligned with the Awami League and the 20-party, or now the recently 36-party anti-government alliance that is aligned with the elephant in the room, the BNP, if you take out the Awami League and the BNP, and you combine both the 14-party alliance members as well as the 36-party political parties, combine them together, we have more organizational strength nationwide. And the reason I say this is because if you look at the elections, whether it's the 2018 elections, 2014, 2008, these alliance partners are running on the electoral symbol of the Noka or the sheaf of paddy, the Dhaneshish. This is not their own political success. Tell them to run an election on their own electoral symbol. Then you count the votes. Then you compare Zaker Party's Golab Phul, which is the rose, versus any other political symbol. And I challenge you, in any constituency, barring the Awami League's Noka and the BNP's, which is the largest opposition party right now, the sheaf of paddy or the Dhaneshish, we have the tenacity, we have the conviction that even the Jatiyo Party, which is widely considered to be the third largest party, we can defeat the Jatiyo Party in more than 75 to 120 seats. If you look at across the intelligence polls, you can do the polling yourself. That is the strength of Zaker Party today. Yes, we haven't held cabinet positions. We haven't sold our soul for political power. But what we do have is an extremely vibrant, organized political party nationwide. And in the future, as you see, there is a latent vacuum for the third largest political party. There's a massive vacuum. We want to be the natural successor of a new Bangladesh, a progressive, vibrant, thriving Bangladesh. We have to be in the equation. And in politics, this is a big test of patience. We're not short on people, Dr. Sinha, at all, by any stretch of the imagination. But there are three main ways funding is raised in Bangladesh, and most of it has to do with taxpayer money. Number one, government tenders. Taxpayer funded, government sanctioned tenders. Number two, bank loans. Again, depositors' money, which is effectively taxpayer money, disbursed through bank loans, taken by big conglomerates, either laundered or abused or used in the political realm. Number three, the Dhaka Stock Exchange. It's a puppeteering tool for raising funds. Again, it entails investors' funds. So as you see, Bangladeshi people, the common voters, are systematically being rigged. In any election cycle right now, Dr. Sinha, why can't we win? It's impossible. If you look at the economics of an election cycle in Bangladesh right now, if I were to compromise my ethics, my religious etiquette, my political etiquette, I wouldn't be short of $100 to $200 million cash to run for an election cycle. In one election cycle in Faridpur district, the net expense of a 20-day election cycle was close to $3.5 million, almost 40 crore Bangladeshi taka. If you multiply this across 300 constituencies, while we have the moral consensus of our people, while we have the conviction, but on the sheer financial element of running an election campaign, it's impossible to compete. This is a David versus Goliath story. The gulf in class is immense, not on competence, not on credibility, but for what we can do but we're not choosing to do. And unless the Election Commission intervenes, people like yourselves, Dr. Sinha, will never be able to take part in an election. It's impossible. A union level election, we just contested a by-election at the union level. The winning candidate spent close to $75,000 for a 1.5-year term in a union level election. How are we supposed to compete if the Election Commission does not strictly enforce these laws? There is too much black money that is coming in to the election and the political arena. This means the meritorious, the competent, the credible, all service sector people, lawyers, doctors, teachers, professors, they will never be able to run for elections. If we want our brightest and our most competent people to be in positions of authority, we need a clear legislation that people cannot be bought with votes. The net spend to buy votes, and I saw this in a particular election campaign, even in Kurigram, for instance. The winning candidate, the day before the election, 2 days before the election, spent close to $400,000 for the presiding officers to control all the centers, to control all the Muslims in the region. How can we compete like this? I plead to the Election Commission of Bangladesh. I plead to the highest echelons of the state machinery. We cannot let our country.
You are just helplessly pleading. Why? As a political party, you have some responsibilities.
Of course,
So
Dr.
why don't
Sinha.
raise the voice?
We have raised our voice. We are trying to raise our voice. We wanted to participate in the last election, not in the 20 seats that we fielded our candidates in, but actually across 300 seats. But this is not a level playing ground. And I am not simply blaming the incumbent government. The BNP, while they were also in power, we saw a similar structure as well. While the Awami League is in power, they're seeking for competent opposition members right now. But they're shackled. We are completely shackled right now. And without an independent judiciary, without an independent state machinery, how can we compete?
But still you are not Alex Haley, roots.
Of course.
You
of course.
should shout.
We are not throwing in the towel. We're not throwing in the towel yet, but it's very difficult to be in the comforts of our discussion here today. But the grassroots reality is vastly, vastly different, Dr. Sinha. It's impossible to, never mind do our politics, but it's also becoming very impossible to survive politically as well. But God willing, we are very meticulous in our decision, as well as in our local political diplomacy as well. We have to negotiate. We have to negotiate for our own people, for the safety of our own workers, for our party members. But this is not the Bangladesh that we envisioned, or our forefathers envisioned. The freedom, the liberty, the autonomy to decide for oneself, the democracy, the plurality of in having divergent opinions.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saim. We will go for a short break and come to you again. Viewers, we are going for a short break. Come to you again very soon. Please keep watching. Viewers, we are back to the talk show again, and this is sponsored by Crown Cement, and this is in Sayeed, anchoring this very talk show. We are having talks with Dr. Saim Amir Faisal, Senior Vice Chairman of Zaker Party, one of the leading political party in Bangladesh in the Islamic bloc. And Mr. Saim, especially a voice like anything. Dr. Saim, elections just took place January, and Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina voted to the power for the fourth time.
Fourth consecutive time.
Fourth consecutive time. And she was in power again. So for the fifth time. Regarding elections, there are so many talks are here. And everybody says there is no political space for the opposition. How do you view all these things taking place in Bangladesh in consideration of politics, fair politics in Bangladesh? As you are talking about the election, money spending in the election, all this reality, what is your realization in it?
So before I share my thoughts, I would like to say that I want to take a leaf out of the American Constitution. I would like to plead the Fifth Amendment, exercise my right of the Fifth Amendment. I have the right to remain silent. Whatever I say may be used against me in the court of law. Jokes aside, this is the new politics of Bangladesh. Even a fundamental economic criticism can transcend to a political criticism. A constructive criticism can be an attack on the government. And I have the greatest respect for our Honorable Prime Minister. I have the greatest respect for the struggle she has had for the liberation of Bangladesh, for the economic emancipation of many, many of her people. No doubt, absolutely. And I have no doubt about the political charisma of our Honorable Prime Minister. However, the reality of Bangladeshi and the Bangladeshi politics is an undeniable one. The space, and I don't want to speak for the Bangladesh Nationalist Party and their personal sufferings and what they have gone through over the past 16 to 17 years, but I'll share my own thoughts even my space in my constituency, we've had to recently stage a political retreat in many ways where I was not able to buy even my nomination papers, simply because we did not feel that the outcome of the election could be meditated by on the course of the election cycle or by the voters at hand. I do feel there are external factors, there are many exogenous factors that determine the outcome of elections right now. One being the financial element, where voters are given 3,000, 2,000, 1,500 taka right before or the day of the election in order to come to the polling stations and vote. If you're spending money the way it is happening right now, or whatever practice we're establishing right now, I really do fear for the sanctity of the Bangladeshi democracy. I have seen this firsthand. I've seen how much money has been spent in the last election cycle without the largest political opposition being present there. And with regards to dissent, I do feel that the opposition, not only the BNP, but its allies as well as independent political parties like ourselves. And I would like to also say on the record that we're not part of the 14-party alliance, neither are we part of the BNP-led 36-party alliance. We have an independent alliance with the people of Bangladesh. We want to grow our supporter base as much as we can, because we may not get this opportunity again. So while we may not run for all elections, maybe we cannot win, but Dr. Sinha, in 1996, this is the power of the swing vote. June 1996, Shahjaza Chaudhry, president member of the Bangladesh Awami League at the time, contested against Obaidur Rahman, who was the general secretary of the Bangladesh Nationalist Party. Shahjaza Chaudhry lost by 5,000 votes. Zaker Party's candidate in that constituency received over 17,000 votes over there. So as you understand that we could not win the election outright, but we were capable in swinging the outcome of the election. That is the leverage that Zaker Party has today. Across all of Bangladesh's 300 constituencies, we have around 2.1% to 3.5% of the total electoral vote. While the Awami League has 32%, the BNP has 28 to 30%. Across 100 people, 3 people are still ours. And these 3 people, when the BNP and the Awami League go to the margins, when the 30% and the 32%, the votes of the country are divided, that 1 or 2% or 3% of the vote can actually turn the outcome of the election. If you go to the global south, the Bangladeshi south, in 25 constituencies, we have upwards of 15 to 20% votes in our own electoral symbol. So this is something that I believe in the political equation, in the electoral equation must be accounted for. But as you understand, in the last election, our largest opposition party, the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, did not participate in the election. So that did not give us substantial leverage to come into the election. So, it became an inter-democratic practice with the Awami League candidates versus their own party members as independents. I was vehemently against the prospect of a coalition with the Jatiyo Party, which I believe was a fundamental mistake for President Ershad's political party. Whatever mandate was left for the people, I believe, has been obliterated ever since the 12th national general elections for the Jatiyo Party.
From the main topics, I like to draw your attention to the geopolitics. You know very well Bangladesh has become a hotbed of geopolitics.
Of course, indeed.
And being a leader of a Zaker Party, and you have a background of spiritual feelings of your grandfathers. How do you view the next election in India and its impact on Bangladesh? Especially what is happening in Assam. You say Assam? So Muslim Mia, they are under threat. Himel Sharma, Chief Minister of Assam, has created a havoc there regarding Citizen Amendment Act. If all these things are going on, unbridled, as a political leader, what is your say before the nation?
Electorally speaking, what the BJP has done in compounding nationalism with Hinduism together collectively and mobilizing the voters in every constituency that we've seen. Electorally, this is one of the largest political parties, one of the greatest electoral parties that I have seen or the world has seen in human history. I do believe it's a greater, fundamentally speaking, more democratic political party in all of the world. It's bigger than the Democratic Party in the US or the Republican Party in the US or the Labour Party in the UK. The fact of the matter is that there is a substantially large minority group in India, almost 15 to 20% are Muslims. And of course, as we're adjacent neighbors, the sanctity of India, Bangladesh, and Pakistan are almost all intertwined and interconnected with one another. If there is surge in radicalism or religious extremism in India, Bangladesh, or Pakistan, the resounding effect does fall on its neighbors. What I want to profoundly say as well that we cannot deny that India surrounds 4/5 of all our borders. If you look in the north, if you look to the west, if you look to the east, we're surrounded by India. So we cannot have a non-existent, we cannot have a relationship that is fundamentally deteriorating or fundamentally unsovereign to the interest of Bangladesh. And we have to remember 1/4 of our borders are shared with Myanmar. And there is tremendous Chinese influence, tremendous Chinese funding through the Myanmar economic corridor. It is important for our viewers to understand that, diplomatically speaking, Bangladesh cannot antagonize any of its neighbors. And our foreign policy that stands with that malice to none, friendship with all, must stay for the economic sanctity of Bangladesh. What happened with the refugee influx was a tremendous economic travesty. Bangladesh itself cannot feed most of its citizens. The political question is fundamentally important. As you understand that recently, the largest opposition party has staged a boycott of Indian products. If you look at Satyagraha, what Mahatma Gandhi did, Mahatma Gandhi, by boycotting British products, did not bankrupt the Bank of England. It was Hitler and the assault on the British economy and the Second World War that actually caused the liberation of India, Bangladesh, and Pakistan. This is a very unpopular opinion, but this is the fact. Mahatma Gandhi fought for almost 35 years. But the catalyst of the ramification that we saw, which was the independence of India and Pakistan at the time, did not happen because of the boycotts. Those are minor details that compounded on a major World War II outbreak, because the Bank of England was, or the British economy was effectively bankrupted. They could not run 5, 6, 7, 20 countries from one island state. And that's what happened in 1945. So we have to understand in context where India and China will be in 10 years' time. Our interest does not align with the interest of one particular country or one particular ethnic group. Our interest is with the people of Bangladesh. What are her political interests? What are her economic interests? Can we defend it? Can we enhance it? In foreign policy, there are no permanent friends. What we do have is our permanent interests. And that is something that we have to recognize. And what we say, on television, anti-Chinese rhetoric or anti-Indian rhetoric, the rhetoric should be pro-Bangladeshi. And that is something that we have to focus on. We have to hold our government to account as well, especially on the trade inequity part. But at the same time, antagonizing our neighbors, I am not sure how politically this will be beneficial in the near to distant future. That's my personal prognosis. We have to do more business with India. They have to take more of our products. We have to increase our exports to India. That is the diplomacy that we need, not staging boycotts. They could do the same. They could really hurt our agrarian economy terribly. So we have to be careful about our political rhetoric, and it should not manifest onto the economic front, because our people will suffer.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saim. We talked so many things, and definitely you impressed me, at least, that you passed the message, what is Zaker Party and what the Zaker Party wants and what the decision you have. And what actually your spiritual leader, Hazrat Maulana Hasmatullah, had a vision and mission. Then you are carrying all these things. And let us see what the next, but at the same...
If I can add, Dr. Sinha, just to finish. My grandfather never proclaimed to have any spiritual powers. He never claimed to be a saint. He was a simple preacher of Islam, And that's all he did
But,
in the entirety of his life.
but it is you.
We don't have any spiritual
But
powers.
it is you
so
who
just
uttered the,
debunking myths.
it is you who uttered the word from the very beginning, is spiritual leaders. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Saim, for your wonderful talks and art of delivery. And really, personally, I'm impressed. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, viewers, we are about to end this talk show. And before ending this talk show, I have to summarize the talks just delivered by the speaker. Here the speaker is Dr. Saim, Amir Faisal. He is the grandson of Peer of Atrashi, Hazrat Maulana Hashmatullah, Rahmatullah, and the son of Pirzada Faisal. And we hope he is the next in the queue. And what are the talks took place here? The most important thing is that what is Zaker Party? He tried his level-best within a short period of time to explain, and his explanation is very much convincing indeed. At the same time, he says Zaker Party as a political party is still fighting a lot, but the electoral process and electoral environment is not so conducive for any political party like Zaker Party. But Zaker Party also believes as a voice of Islam, it is very determined not to bow down to anybody. So, for the sake of democracy, human rights, they are ready to fight. And with this mission, Zaker Party is not only a political party, it is also handling so many things in the front of economics. There is structure, restructuring the economic structure, and they have owned the economic model. And he uttered the word, they have more than 12,000 workers, or the employment created, they have created. And it is really, I think, this is the first of its kind in Bangladesh. The only political party, from the point of view economics, did a lot. And this is a good message to all. And I think all the political parties in Bangladesh, especially in the Islamic fold, should follow the pursuit. Not only politics, think of different fields, especially economics, economically, culturally, even environmentally. And from this point of view, we congratulate Dr. Saim to make us convince and pass the message what is Zaker Party, and why Zaker Party is in the field, why they are not competing in the election at this very moment, but they had a long desire to compete in the election, and they also believe today or tomorrow they will be in a position to go to power and form the government. And that day they will be in a position to put their all dreams into practice. And let us pray to Allah so that Zaker Party may continue with his vision and mission. And thank you very much.